Okay, so today we are going to discuss about the cursors. Okay, so it's a very important thing. So for each and every program, you may see this concept like cursor. Okay, so Oracle creates some memory area known as a context area. So ఈ context area అనేది will see. So if you are working with so treat like I say this is Oracle, and so Oracle are having the two different engines to process SQL or to process PL/SQL. Okay. Okay, so Oracle having the two different engines to process the SQL commands, that it will use the SQL engine. So if you are using any PL/SQL commands, that will run in the PL/SQL engine. Okay, so while processing the record in the PL/SQL, so you will use some RAM like a memory. So if you are using your computer, the computer will performance will depend on your RAM, correct? The same way, the PL/SQL having like a some context area meaning processing area. Okay, so our processing area enti ante PGA. PGA, program global area or private global area. Okay, so which is used to, so this is the place to process all the records in the PL/SQL. We'll use the PGA. Okay, so PGA. Okay, so this PGA will work for the to process all the records we'll use in the PL/SQL. Okay, so ikkada for processing an SQL statement which contains all the information needed for processing that statement. For example, the number of rows are processed. It's okay. So ikkada emotadante. So if we use like select query in the PL/SQL, so you can able to process only one record at a time. Enduku? So you are fetching the data from SQL to PL/SQL. Okay, so you need to store some variables. So while fetching the data, that data need to be captured and stored into some place. So we have only variables to store the information now. Okay, so you can able to fetch only one record from at a time. So if you want to process multiple records, so every time SQL కి వెళ్ళి నువ్వు PL/SQL కి డేటాను తీసుకున్నావు అంటే ఒక్కొక్క రికార్డ్ ఒక్కొక్కసారి ప్రాసెస్ చేయాలి. అర్థమవుతుందా? So to avoid that, so we can process all the records at a time. So if you want to process multiple records at a time, not all the records at a time. So all the records at a time అంటే అన్ని రికార్డ్ని ఒకేసారి ప్రాసెస్ చేయాలి. We can process multiple records at a time. Okay, so in multiple records అంటున్నాం కదా. So we'll fetch the data from SQL to PL/SQL, put it into some PCA, process the record one by one. Instead of going to like SQL for each and every record, okay, fetch all the records at a time, put that into this PCA, okay, process one by one record. So to process one by one record, we have the loops. So you people already know, like if you want to do this work repeatedly, so we'll use the loops. So fetch the data from SQL to PL/SQL, put it into the PCA, process the records one by one. So advantage of the cursor, so which is used, cursor is a pointer variable. So it's a pointer variable which is used to process multiple records at a time in PL/SQL. So we have two types of cursors. Okay, see here. The definition is cursor is a pointer to this context area. So a context area lo neeku oka specific memory ni allocate chestadi anamata. సో ఏదైతే నువ్వు కర్సర్ ని డిక్లేర్ చేస్తామో ఆ కర్సర్ నేమ్ తోటి చేస్తుంది. ఓకే, సో PLSQL controls the context area through a cursor. సో ఈ ఆ మెమరీ ఆ PGA లో ఏదైతే ఉందో ఆ PGA లో యూ కెన్ కంట్రోల్ ది processing information by using the cursors. Okay, so a cursor holds the rows, one or more. Okay, so cursor holds the records or rows. So rows or records both are same. Okay, so one or more. So ఒక రికార్డ్ నైనా హోల్డ్ చేసుకుంటుంది, మల్టిపుల్ రికార్డ్స్ అయినా హోల్డ్ చేసుకుంటుంది. ఓకే, సో రిటర్న్ బై SQL స్టేట్మెంట్స్. సో ఆ రిటర్న్ బై SQL స్టేట్మెంట్ అంటే సో ఎందుకు టు ప్రాసెస్ ద రికార్డ్ వీ నీడ్ ద డేటా. సో ఇక్కడి నుంచి తీసుకుంటావు, ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ టు రిట్రీవ్ ద డేటా విల్ యూస్ ది SQL. So if you want to retrieve the data from SQL by using SQL command, select query only, you can able to fetch the data. Correct? So now, okay, so returns by SQL statement. ఆ SQL statement నుంచి నువ్వు రిట్రీవ్ చేసే డేటా. సో ఇప్పుడు సెలెక్ట్ స్టార్ ఫ్రమ్ ఎంప్లాయీ అన్నా అనుకో, ఎంప్లాయీ టేబుల్లో ఉన్న హోల్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ వస్తుంది. సెలెక్ట్ స్టార్ ఫ్రమ్ ఎంప్లాయీ where DEPT number equal to 10 అన్నా అనుకో, it fetch like a 10th department information. If you have like 1 record or 2 record or 5 record also, it fetch all the records. So if you have 1 record, it capture and store only 1 record. See here, the cursor, see the set of rows the cursor holds is referred by, so referred to as a active set. So query return చేసే results ని we can put it into active set. So ఎందుకు active set అంటున్నామంటే we are ready to process the records. అర్థమవుతుందా? So you may have like a SQL may have like lot of tables, but we are not putting all the records. So whatever the records you are retrieving using that select query, that you can put it into active set. Okay, so see, so simple definition, cursor is a pointer that points a result of a query. Okay, PLSQL has 2 types of cursors, implicit cursor and explicit cursor. So in this simple definition and cursor is a pointer that points to a result of a SQL query, result of a query. Okay, so ela ante, so if you want to use the cursors, we need to follow 4 steps. We need to follow 4 steps. You don't have any option here. So as I said, like in anonymous block, in the declarative section, we can declare the variables, constants, and the subprograms. We declare some functions, right? So create or replace each చేయకుండా in the declarative section లో ఒక ఫంక్షన్ ని డిక్లేర్ చేస్తాం మనం. ఓకే, అలానే we can able to declare the cursor variables. You can able to declare the cursor variables. Okay, so if you want to declare the cursor in the declarative section, we need to use the syntax in this way. Cursor name is select statement. So whatever the query you are going to process, mention that select statement. So it may be a 1 table or 2 table. So put that frame that select query, put it into this place. Okay, this is the first step. Okay, so if you declare the cursor here, okay, so see, so if you declare the cursor, what we can see, this is your PCA. Okay, so in this PCA, so if you declare the cursor, okay, it takes some dedicated memory for the, okay, in the PCA. So if you declare the cursor like a cursor C1, okay, so it allocates some memory, special memory for you. So it treat like I say C1 is your cursor name. Okay, so Okay, so as I said, we can able to declare the variables if it required. So v underscore e name like a varchar2 of 20. Okay, so declaring the cursor name like C1. I'm providing the cursor name as C1 is select query. You can frame any type of select query. Select star from EMP. So now you declare the cursor here. Okay, so I'm starting the main section. Okay, so you are fetching the data, putting into in this cursor, correct? So if you declare the cursor, so the backend it will allocate some memory in the PCA. So the PCA is the place to process all the records in the PLSQL. Okay, private global area, program global area. Okay, so in this place, so if you declare the cursor, it maintains it allocates some dedicated memory to process that select query results. Whatever the select query you mentioned in the declarative section, so to process this all records, it is providing some private space with your cursor name. This is reserved for C1. This place is reserved for C1. Okay, so it is allocating some dedicated memory in the PCA with the cursor name while declaring the cursor in the declarative section. It is not fetching any information now. Just it is occupying some space in the PCA with the cursor name. So you may have like a lot of space here, but dedicated memory will allocate for you to process this many records. Okay, then you are doing the like a second step. This is the first step. So how can we increase this size, man?
Go to edit, sir.
సార్ టూల్స్లో ఉంది సార్
Sorry.
టూల్స్లో ఉంది సార్
సార్ టూల్స్ ప్రిఫరెన్స్ లాస్ట్ లో ప్రిఫరెన్స్ ఉంటుంది సార్ అక్కడికి వెళ్తే
I'm not seeing any preferences in this place.
Tools.
Right. So we'll go with the notepad.
Sir. Settings.
Preferences.
Settings carousel
Settings.
I'm in settings.
Expectation తర్వాత
style
configuration ఉంది కదా. Style configurator. Style configurator లో font size 10 ఉంది.
global styles
I'm in notepad plus.
Settings open చేయండి. Normal settings open చేయండి.
You open the settings.
Style configurator. Font size 10.
global styles also. Global styles. Global styles. Bold.
And I can use the notepad. Okay, you can able to see here, right, in notepad. In this place, you can able to understand, right? Okay, so we declare the way. So we are mentioning like some anonymous block. So just I taken some variable here. So I don't have an idea. So I just take some variable here. So we can able to declare some variables also in the declarative section. Okay, so, and you can able to declare the constants as well. Then, so as I said, we can able to declare the sub programs, either procedure or function also. You can able to mention in this place. Okay. And we can able to declare the cursor variables. So you declare the cursor variable. So if you declare that, it occupying some dedicated memory in the PCA with the cursor name. Okay. So this is happened till this step. Okay. Now, so now we are, so now we need to fetch the data, put that into that PCA. Okay. So if you want to fetch the data from SQL to PLSQL, so use the second step as open. So this is then like a open C1, open cursor name. So now it is opening the data from SQL to PLSQL. So see, so treat like I say, this is a C1 area. Okay, this is the C1 area. So what are the records you are using this place? We mentioned like a select star from EMP, right? So you may see the data and copy that into this cursor memory with this one. Okay. Take the snipping tool. So it fetches the data from SQL to PLSQL and need to be in silent. Okay, so this will copy in this place. Okay, so we copy in this place. Cannot able to fetch the data from SQL to PLSQL and put that into this place. Okay, so this is your context area with the C1. So I cannot able to accommodate this in this place. So now I have replaced with this place. Okay, so this is your C1 area. C1 area. This is your cursor area. So once if you press like a open C1 in the second step, it fetch the data. So if you are running from PLSQL engine, so it fetch the data. So you are hitting the query from PLSQL. So it need to be travel from this place. Okay, second step. So then second. Okay, so this is like a then. So the second step, you are traveling from SQL to PLSQL. Sorry, PLSQL to SQL. Okay, now you are fetching the data and pass that data. Okay, and move that data from SQL to in cursor memory into C1. Okay, so moving data from SQL to cursor memory C1. Okay, so this is what happening in the second step. So in the first step, you are declaring the cursor. So if you declare that, it occupying some dedicated memory in the PCA. Okay, then, so while opening the cursor, it's fetching the results from SQL to PLSQL, put it into that PCA. This is second step. Then you need to, so you are fetching all the records in the PLSQL. Now we need to process the records. So you cannot able to process multiple records at a time. Okay, so the SQL query will process only one by one record because so if you want to process multiple records, okay, so you need a place to store the values. So while fetching the data, select employee number from employee, then you will get like 15 records. If you use like where row num equal to 1, it fetch only one record. So now we have the variables to use to process the records. సో వేరియబుల్స్ ని చేసుకొని తెచ్చుకున్న ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ మనం వేరియబుల్స్ లో అసైన్ చేసుకొని వేరియబుల్స్ ని మనం యూజ్ చేసుకుంటాం PLSQL కరెక్ట్. సో ద సేమ్ వే యూ క్యాన్ ఏబుల్ టు పర్ఫార్మ్ హియర్. సో మనకి వీ హ్యావ్ వేరియబుల్స్ టు ప్రాసెస్ ద రికార్డ్స్ టు స్టోర్ ద ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్. కర్సర్ మెమరీలో నుంచి PLSQL ఏరియాలోకి నీకు డేటా తీసుకొని వచ్చి ప్రాసెస్ చేయాలి అంటే వీ నీడ్ సమ్ వేరియబుల్స్, వీ నీడ్ సమ్ స్టోరేజ్ డివైస్. మనకున్న స్టోరేజ్ డివైస్ ఏంటి? వేరియబుల్స్. వేరియబుల్లో యూ కెన్ ఏబుల్ టు స్టోర్ ఓన్లీ వన్ వాల్యూ. Okay, so now if you want to retrieve the data from cursor memory to the PLSQL, okay, so we need to use the fetch statement. Fetch. ఎక్కడి నుంచి fetch చేయాలి? Fetch meaning gathering. Okay, so fetch from C1 into PLSQL memory. So ఏంటి మనకి memory? Variables. We need the variables. So what the data we have for this? Select star from EMP. So this may have like 1 column, 2 column or 5 columns also. You need to declare the same replica of the memory. So no 10 members ni food ki pilchinappudu you need to maintain like a for 10 members arrangements you need to do. అర్థమవుతుందా? So appudu you need to declare like a data type of variables. So whatever the employee table is having, okay, the same data type you need to maintain as a variable. So due to this, in these type of situations, anchor data types will help you a lot. So you may use like a anchor data types to take the reference of the tables, to take the reference of one column, to take the cursors also. So you may, so that C1 is having the same employee table structure. So if you put like joins, select star from employee, comma, DPT, and two table data retrieve చేసేవాళ్ళు. Now, so if you want to declare the anchor data type, ఎంప్లాయీ టేబుల్ నుంచి తీసుకొని నువ్వు రెఫరెన్స్ తీసుకోవాలన్నా, డిఈపిటి టేబుల్ నుంచి రెఫరెన్స్ తీసుకోవాలని అంటే టూ వేరియబుల్స్, టూ డిఫరెంట్ టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ వేరియబుల్స్ డిక్లేర్ చేయాలి. సో ఇన్స్టెడ్ ఆఫ్ డూయింగ్ లైక్ two different anchor data types, we'll make it as a only, so what the cursor is having the structure. In the same way, we can build the structure, okay, by taking the reference of the cursor. Okay, simply, so I am declaring like a v underscore c1. It's a to take the data from cursor. So I'm mentioning like a variable c1. Okay, variable c1. Okay, so what the data type of this variable cursor? C1 percentile row. Right. Now v underscore c1 having the same structure of the c1. All the columns, all the data types, everything will same as a c1 data type. Now c1 is the cursor data type. Okay, so now we declare this variable. So now I remove these variables. I am not using this variable. Okay, so now I can able to fetch the data from c1 and store that into v underscore c1. So if you want to fetch like a multiple things, select c1 c2 into v1 v2 from emp. So so if you have like you are fetching like two column information, you need the two variables. Okay, so if you mention like so what are the first column variable we have, that you need to mention in the respective order. So how that column list you mentioned in the same order, you need to mention the variable order as well. Okay, now we declare the variables. So in the same way, I have mentioned here c1 into v underscore c1. ఓకే, ఇక్కడ C1 కాలం C2 C3 అని ఉంటే ఇక్కడ C1 C2 C3 అని చెప్పి val1 val2 val3 అని చెప్పి అసైన్ అవుతుంది. ఓకే, సో నౌ we are fetching this information. Okay, so we are fetching. The fetch statement will fetch only first record from the cursor memory. So this cursor memory, so while opening that, so it fetch to we cannot able to mark here, right? So it fetch like a first record. So if you open that, so if you open the cursor name, it fetch the data and put it into the PCA, okay, in the cursor memory and ready to process. I am ready to process the first record annattu untundi. Then if you fetch the statement, so if you use like fetch c1 into variable, it fetched the first record value and kept it into v underscore c1 here. V underscore c1. Okay, now it fetch only first record. So if you want to process multiple all the records, we need to fetch one by one record. How we perform like a cursor loops. In the same way, we can able to use the loops here. Okay, so let's try with the without loop, then we can go with the loops. Okay, so we did like a third step as C. Third step. Third step as the fetch. Then, so you are allocating some dedicated memory, right? So to process, man, I need like a whole day to process my data in your system. So don't use the system and you can ask the permission for the team members. So don't use the production server. I am doing some task in the production. No, don't touch the production and chapter. So once you've done your work, you need to intimate like I done my work, you can able to process your information. అర్థమవుతుందా? సో అంటే ఇక్కడ ఏమవుతుంది, ఇవార్ సో డెడికేటెడ్ మెమరీ, సో డెడికేటెడ్ టైం నువ్వు తీసుకున్నావు ప్రాజెక్ట్. ఓకే, ఆ డెడికేటెడ్ టైమ్, సో ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ కంప్లీట్ యువర్ వర్క్, దెన్ యూ నీడ్ టు ఇంటిమేట్ విత్ దట్ ఆల్ ది పర్సన్స్, యూ కెన్ ఏబుల్ టు ప్రొసీడ్. సో వాళ్ళు ప్రొసీడ్ అవుతున్నారంటే మీ యూసేజ్ అయిపోయింది. సో మీరు తీసుకున్న టైం కంప్లీట్ అయిపోయింది కాబట్టి, సో ఐఎమ్ నాట్ యూటిలైజింగ్ దట్, యు ఆర్ ఫ్రీయింగ్ దట్ స్పేస్. అర్థమవుతుందా? సో ప్రాసెస్ చేయడానికి మనకి ఏంటి, పీజీఏలో విత్ C1 అని చెప్పి ఒక డెడికేటెడ్ మెమొరీని అలొకేట్ చేసుకున్నాం. Now after completion of the processing records, then you need to be reallocate this memory to the back to the PCA. So మీ వర్క్ అయిపోయినప్పుడు you need to be you taken like a Zoom car for rented. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది, 1 day నువ్వు తీసుకుంటావు. సో ఆఫ్టర్ 1 day, సో లైక్ నీ అవసరం తీరిపోయింది. సో యూ నీడ్ టు ట్రావెల్ సమ్ ప్లేస్, యూ ట్రావెల్ ఫ్రమ్ కేమ్ బ్యాక్ టు ది అగైన్ యువర్ ప్లేస్. Then you no need to put your car in your home, right? So you can provide that car to the some other persons, so who are not having the car, those people will take the car back. అర్థమవుతుందా? సో వాడు రెంట్ తీసుకోవడానికి వాళ్ళకి ఉపయోగపడుతుంది. సో అలానే, సో దిస్ ప్రాసెసింగ్ డెడికేటెడ్ మెమొరీ ఏదైతే ఉందో, ఆ డెడికేటెడ్ మెమొరీని విల్ గివ్ ఇట్ బ్యాక్ టు ది PCA. Okay, so to give it back to the PCA, we need to use the close C1. So close name. This is like a fourth step. This is like fourth step. So here, so if you want to process the multiple records in the PLSQL block, we need the cursors. So if you want to use the cursors in the PLSQL, we need to follow 4 steps. So declaring the cursor and opening the cursor and fetch the results and close that. Okay, so you are in the third step, so you are fetching the results. What is the use of fetching the results? So you need to perform some calculations, or you need to perform some DMLs. So while fetching the data, there must be some use, right? The use need to be readable, or fetching meaning opening. So you are fetching the data, so you need to see the data. That is one advantage. Or you need to push the data into some place, other place, or you need to update some details based on some calculations. Okay, you need to fetch the one by one record and check the required details is having that record or not. If it is not, then update some information. Okay, so whatever the details you have, that you can push into some other table. So here you can able to perform the printing, you can able to insert the data into some other table, you can able to update, you can able to delete. So you can able to, so you are fetching the information and need to be processed in third step. So we have again the first step, fetch, second step, processing. In fetch, you are fetching the information and need to be processed. The process mechanism will be either insert, update, delete, either select. So you need to use any type of things in this place. Then you can close the cursor. Okay, so the fetch statement will follow like it fetch only first record. Okay, so I'm taking this and I'm using the same things here. Okay, so select star from EMP and opening that, fetching the results, and I'm printing the results from the fetch statement. So అది ఫెచ్ చేస్తుంది కదా, సో ఏ రికార్డ్ని ఫెచ్ చేస్తుంది తెలుసుకోవాలి అంటే, సో వీల్ యూజ్ ది ప్రింట్ స్టేట్మెంట్ టు వ్యూ దట్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్. ఆ ఫెచ్ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఏ రికార్డ్ని తీసుకొని వచ్చి నీకు డిస్ప్లే చేస్తుందో చూసుకోవాలి అంటే, సో dbms అండర్స్కోర్ output dot put underscore line. Okay, so now we are having the variable. Okay, you cannot able to print the data from C1 because it is a source. From source you cannot able to print the data directly. So you need to put the source information into some target variable. Then you need to use the target variables in this place. Okay, so C1, if you want to check that, use the C1 data employee number. Okay, so now I'm running this. So what it is doing? Subprogram. Sorry, no error here. Put also is one function. dbms underscore put underscore line. Put also is one of the things. This is a procedure. Okay, so C1 dot EMP number. Now I am trying to print that. Now it is giving the error. Subprogram or cursor C1 reference is out of scope. So నువ్వు ప్రింట్ చేయడానికి నీకు స్కోప్ లేదు. So you cannot able to directly view the data. You need to put that into some target variable. TGA లో ఉన్న డేటాని you cannot able to see the directly. So you can put that into some variable and see that variable information. See here, now I am putting like a v underscore C1. V underscore C1 is the variable name. Okay. Now the program is getting success. Okay, I am like a set server output on. I am doing it like a set server output on. Seven 369. It is displaying one record. Now I am printing like a employee name as well, because v underscore C1 is having like multiple columns. Okay, so v underscore C1 of e name 7369 information having this Smith Shiva. So if you want to see that, see in this place, select star from employee. This is the first record. Got it, right? So it's fetching only first record information. It is not fetching like a all records. Okay. Now we need to follow these 4 steps. If you skip any one of the steps here, I'm skipping the last step. You are not getting any issue. I'm not getting any issue. Okay, so if you want to reuse that same thing, fetch statement, or open the cursor again, so you can able to declare the cursor. So ఇక్కడ నీకేంటి, సో ఈ రోజు మీకు అవసరం వచ్చింది, రేపు పొద్దున మళ్ళీ ఇంకొక అవసరం రావచ్చు మీకు. అప్పుడు you will get like a cursor is already in open. So if you are trying to reopen the cursor again, ఏం చేస్తావు, నువ్వు జూమ్ కార్ రెంట్ తీసుకుంటావు. So you are already having that Zoom car with you. You haven't submitted the car to the bank. Okay, again you are trying to take new car. So when you are already having one car, please use that car. So I cannot able to provide a new car to you because you already having the Zoom car with you. Cursor is already open. So you will get the error like a cursor is already open. See, now I am trying to do the open statement. see cursor already open. So without closing my cursor, now I am opening my cursor back. Now I will get the cursor already opened error. అర్థమవుతుందా? No. So now in this case you will get this error. Okay, so we have like a predefined exception for this. So put some exception block, it will come to that place and use the close cursor for that. So if you want to handle those type of situations, so put some exception block. So take the cursor name and close that cursor in the exception block if it required. So now see here, I am opening the cursor and closing here. Now I am trying to use the same cursor again. I opened it, but I haven't fetched the information and haven't closed the information. So so declarative. So you like if you declare some cursor, if you haven't used that cursor, so now I am not using any close statement. I am not using any fetch statement. Simply okay. So I'm not at all using any open statement. So I use only first step. I'm not getting any error. Okay. So while using like a open cursor and closing, so without closing the cursor, if you want to try to use the like a reusing that cursor again, so you will get the cursor is already open error. Okay. So if you open the cursor, use that information in the fetch statement and process that, and must try to check for each and every time if you are opening the cursor, need to be closed. So need to be closed. So as a good coder, you need to follow like the rules and regulations. Okay, opening the cursor and closing that. So here we are now able to process only one record, correct? So if you want to process multiple records, okay, so you are saying like SQL here. So when you're like you will use the fetch statement in third step. Okay, so use like a fetch. Okay, so the fetch statement will go to the, so the fetch statement will go to the, okay, this first record and fetch the record. Okay, and fetch the record. So if you want to process multiple records one by one, so we need to use the loops. Okay, so if you to process multiple records, we'll use the loop and use the end loop. End loop. Okay, so it fetch the first record and will come to the second record. Okay, again it will go for the third record till like end of the record. So end of the record it will come. Okay, so again, so you have like 14 records or 15 records in this place. It is processing all the records. After completion of all the records also, it will try to fetch the data from the same information. So you are saying like a మీకు పరమానంద శిష్యులు అని చెప్పి ఒకటి ఉంటుంది, మూవీ ఉంటుంది. సో ఏం చేస్తారు, ఇఫ్ యూ సెడ్ లైక్ అరే అక్కడికి వెళ్ళి అది తీసుకోరా అంటే అది ఏంటి అని అడగరు అనమాట. వెళ్తారు వాళ్ళు, అక్కడ ఏముంటే అవి తీసుకొని వస్తానే ఉంటారు. Keep on bringing the things from that place to this place. So if you don't have anything also, those people are going from that place and giving back, so like coming back as a empty. అర్థమవుతుందా? అక్కడ మీ థింగ్స్ అన్ని అయిపోయిన తర్వాత కూడా ఇక్కడి నుంచి అక్కడి వరకు ట్రావెల్ చేస్తానే ఉంటాం బికాస్ దోస్ పీపుల్ మాస్టర్ సెడ్ లైక్ యూ నీడ్ టు బ్రింగ్ సంథింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ దట్ ప్లేస్ టు దిస్ ప్లేస్. సో ఏం చెప్పారో తెలియదు కాబట్టి ఇట్ ఫెచింగ్ ఆల్ ది థింగ్స్ ఇన్ టు దిస్ ప్లేస్. సో మీకు ఫెచ్ చేసే ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అయిపోయినా కూడా వాడు ఏం చేస్తా అంటారు, హీస్ ట్రావెలింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ దట్ ప్లేస్ టు దిస్ ప్లేస్. మాస్టర్ హీస్ నాట్ సెట్ లైక్ సో స్టాప్ ది ప్రోగ్రామ్. సో ఆ మాస్టర్ మీకు స్టాప్ చేయమని చెప్పలేదు. సో అందుకని హీ విల్ ట్రావెల్ ఫ్రమ్ దిస్ ప్లేస్ టు దట్ ప్లేస్ అంటిల్ he stop you. అర్థమవుతుందా? సో నౌ ద ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఈస్ ట్రైంగ్ టు fetch the information again out of the records. Okay, it continuously fetching the information. So we need to stop the program. So when we need to stop the program, that you need to be provide some hint to the compiler. So the compiler is processing the records one by one. You need to provide a hint when I need to come back from the processing. Okay, so you need to give the hint to the that. Okay, so to process one by one record, we need to use loops. Now I am using the loops here. Okay, so the loop need to be maintained in the fetch statement will maintain in the loop because it fetch the first record and come back to the, okay, I mentioned like a end loop. So loop will have a loop will, how it will work loop? It process all the record inside the loop and resume the control back to the starting of the loop. So at resume the control back to the, so after processing all the records inside the loop, it will come back to the starting of the point to execute the again the same statement, repeated of statements to execute again back and back. We'll use the loop. So once, see the fetch statement having some beauty. So if you like process one record from PCA, okay, so if you process the first record, so the first record you are processing by using fetch statement. So if you went for the second time, it ignore the first record. Now the system will treat like second record as the first record. So if you are going like part time, it ignore the first two records because whatever the processed records we have, that will keep away from the cursor memory. అర్థమవుతుందా? ఏదైతే నేను ప్రాసెస్ చేసిన రికార్డ్స్ ఉన్నాయో ఫెచ్ చేసిన ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఏదైతే ఉందో ఆ ఫెచ్ చేసిన ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఐ విల్ పుట్ సమ్ అవే ఫ్రమ్ ది కర్సర్ మెమరీ. Okay, so it process one by one record until this place. Okay, so now if I can able to find out like the cursor is having the fetch statement is having the data or not. So నీ ఫెచ్ చేసేటప్పుడు ఆ ఫెచ్ స్టేట్మెంట్ లో డేటా వస్తుందా లేదా అని చెక్ చేసుకుంటా వస్తాను. ఇఫ్ ద కర్సర్ ఈస్ హ్యావింగ్ ద డేటా, if I found that cursor is having the data, if the cursor is not having the data, if you want to find out that information, if I found out that, so I can able to stop the program. If the things is completed, please stop the program. If the things is not completed, proceed the things. So for that, so Oracle has introduced like cursor attributes. Cursor attributes. So attributes will help you to find out the
names అనేవి యూనిక్ లో ఉంటుంది.
ఏంటి
లూప్స్ యూస్ చేసేటప్పుడు నేమ్స్ అనేవి యూనిక్ లో ఉంటుంది.
సేమ్ నేమ్స్
నేమ్స్ అనేవి లూప్స్
ఎంప్లాయీ నేమ్ మళ్ళీ ఎంప్లాయీ నెంబర్ లూప్ తీస్తావు.
లూప్ చేసుకునేటప్పుడు నేమ్స్ అనేవి యూనిక్ ఉంటుంది కదా. సో శివ అనే నేమ్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ 9th రికార్డ్ లో కూడా శివ ఉంటుంది.
Yes.
సో అట్లాంటి టైంలో కూడా
So I am not depending on your name. I am depending on record IDs. So ఇక్కడ ఏం జరుగుతుంది? So I am not processing with name here. I am processing on the record IDs. Row ID అనేది ఉందా? So row ID, what's the use of the row ID? It process. So where that record is stored in the database, it is the address ID for each and every record, row ID. So I am processing the records with the row, not with as a name. If you have like a Shiva's multiple, the same record as a 2 times, every record is different for me. So I'm not checking as a duplicate or not here. So my check will be the table is the cursor is having the data, how many records I have. If it is a duplicate or non-duplicate, I won't bother about that. I need to process all the records. Come on now. Okay, so now we are in a loop. Okay, so now if you mention like this, the process will be continuously going for the infinity loop. How we mentioned yesterday, in the same way, it will go for the infinity loop. Okay, I don't want to waste that time. So we'll go with the cursor attributes. Now I am trying to mention the data. So while fetching the data here, okay, so I'm checking here cursor attributes. We have like a 4 attributes, 4 cursor attributes. Until cursor name, until found. So here cursor name is C1, right? And I'm directly mentioning like a C1 percentile not found. Percentile not found. So while fetching the data, after fetching that information, now I am verifying the data using this percentile not found. So after fetching the data from cursor memory to the variable, now I am checking with that data. So I'm checking that and I'm printing with the, I'm passing to the exit statement. Exit when ఎప్పుడు exit చేయమని చెప్పాలి, when cursor is not having any data. కర్సర్ ఏం చెప్పాను నేను, కర్సర్ మెమరీలో నుంచి ఆఫ్టర్ ప్రాసెసింగ్ 1 by 1 రికార్డ్ and keeping away each and every processor records from cursor memory to some place. ఆ some place ఏంటనేది మనకు అనవసరం. It is keeping away from cursor memory to some other place. Whatever the processed records. So if you have any left records, so remaining records, that will be keep as is. Okay, after processing all the records, now I am verifying this. Exit when C1 percentile not found. Okay, now see this. It's processing all the records. It is processing all the records and coming out of the loop. Okay, so now if you mention like a C1 percentile found, so I'm saying like if the cursor is having the data, kindly exit from the loop. Okay. So the cursor attributes will return the values as a true or false. If it is returning the true, when it will return the true. If the cursor is having the data, it will return the true for a exit statement. It will pass to the exit true. True అనే వాల్యూ ఎప్పుడు వస్తుందో it will exit that process. అర్థమవుతుందా? So this cursor attributes will return the boolean values. Boolean values meaning true or false. These two values we can call it as a boolean values. True or false. So now the exit statement is getting the value like a true. ఎప్పుడు if you are processing the first record itself, you will get the true. See, if you want to see the difference, now I am copying this statement. So నేను ప్రింట్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఫెచ్ చేసుకున్నాను. ఫెచ్ చేసి ఫస్ట్ రికార్డ్ ని ప్రింట్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఐఎమ్ చెకింగ్ యాస్ ఏ ఎగ్జిట్ వెన్ C1 percentile ఫౌండ్ అంటున్నాను. అంటే కర్సర్ లో డేటా వస్తే ఎగ్జిట్ అయిపోవని చెప్తున్నాను నేను. ఓకే, నౌ సీ దిస్. Now I am removed. I am re-executing this. See here, it is fetching the first record and checking the second attribute like exit statement with percentile found. So cursor name found, C1 percentile found. Percentile found will help you to if the cursor is having the data or not. If you want to find out, we'll use this. If the cursor is does not have data or not. So ante data లేదా ఉందా అని చెక్ చేసుకోవడానికి. So you can able to use this either way. Two attributes మనకి ఉపయోగపడతాయి. So కానీ if you want to find out the cursor is does not have అన్నప్పుడు boolean true రిటర్న్ చేయాలి అంటే will use the not found. అర్థమవుతుందా? Not found will help you. Not found will give the true when the cursor is does not have any information. Okay, found will give true when the cursor is having the data. Okay, so we have another attribute, row count, percentile row count. So one percentile row count. You are fetching the information and processing one by one record here. Okay, so how many records you are processing? If you want to know that, we'll use the cursor name percentile row count at the end of the, after ending the loop. After ending the loop, we'll use the, okay, so if you want to store it, give the how many records are affected. It gives the numerical value. So if you want to store that, we need some storage device. Okay, so I'm mentioning like a count. So v underscore cnt is the variable name. Number. Okay, so now I'm capturing and storing into, see here I'm putting into, here I'm mentioning like a exit not found. Not found. So, and I'm mentioning like a v underscore cnt, v underscore cnt, putting into this place. So loop local ichestunna. Okay, now I'm trying to print a value here, v underscore cnt, v underscore cnt. So employee name ni print చేస్తున్నాను, దాంతో పాటు ఆ ఎంప్లాయీ ఎన్నో రికార్డ్ అని చెప్పి ప్రింట్ చేయడానికి నేను చూస్తున్నాను అనమాట. సో కౌంట్ అనేది చూస్తున్నాను. See here, till now I processed 7 records, 8 records, 9 records. This is the count of the variable. So you can see count of processed of count of processed records till now. So you need to make it as a records till now to understand. Till now. Okay, till now I processed 15 records. First record it will give the first. Okay, so instead of maintaining in the all the times of all the records, so simply I will maintain this at the after completion of the loop. I can take the count and I will display that. Okay, so now I'm printing this variable information out of the loop, v underscore c1 dot emp number. So now see here, we'll see 780 is the last record. You will fetch with the last record with the 780, and it is showing till now I process like a 15 records. So I don't have any duplicate information upside here. So this is about the cursor. This is the normal cursor, basic cursor. So we can able to use the cursor for loop. Okay, so we already seen like a for loop yesterday. So the same way, so I am changing with this basic loop to, with a cursor for loop, and we have some other attribute as well. Okay, so percentile is open. Okay, so now we have the cursor here, right? C1, we declare the cursor. We are opening that and putting into loop and process the records and closing that, correct? So we are following additional 3 steps here. Now simply I am changing with this simply loop with for I in for a in. So epudu C1. Now I am passing like a C1 cursor name. Now the cursor name is having associated with the select query. The cursor is associated with the select query. Ante ee cursor lo ippudu ee C1 annappudu it passed the select query in this place. Yesterday we process the records with select query. For I in అని చెప్పి bracket లో మనం select query process చేసి we process one by one record. For I dot employee number, I dot e name అని చెప్పి మనం print చేస్తాం. The same thing we are processing with cursor name here. అర్థమవుతుందా? So now, so for I in C1, now if the cursor is having this and processing the records by using loop. Okay, then we need to use end loop. No, we no need to use any exit statement. So we no need to use any exit statement here. So now you are fetching the information directly from a I variable. Okay, you no need to use fetch statement as well here. Simply fetch the I data employee number. So I data e name. Okay, so it will come out of the loop once reach the last record in this place, because the for loop will know how many times I need to iterate it. I need to loop that. I need to do the iterations. So first record to last record, how many records I have, that many times I can process the records in the form of loop. Then take the count. Then we no need to use the close cursor here. Okay, so we are following opening and cursor for loop here. Simply it is showing invalid cursor where okay, so this is this we need to use like I data AMP number, not like a so v underscore C1. We are not assigning any value to this variable. We are assigning the value to I. So what it is saying, I data AMP number must be declared. So now you are printing the out of the loop. So meaning the cursor is already closed in this place. Cursor automatically close అయిపోతుంది ఇక్కడ for loop. So then you cannot able to print this information outside. Okay, so again this also. Okay. So if you want to see the output, run this program in the screen. You will get the results. Server output on we need to make. See, it is printing all the records. Okay, this is about the loops, cursor and as well as cursor for loop. So basic cursor and cursor for loop. We have two cursors here, and we have another cursors like parametric cursor and ref cursor. So ref cursor already we see in the procedures starting of the point, but we will see again. Okay, so I will explain by tomorrow. So I am stopping here.